Good morning, Boker Tov, Fredlich and Shushan Purim. Please help yourself to some coffee and donuts and Advil. And wishing everyone a Fredlich and Shushan Purim. 10 minutes of meaning is sponsored anonymously. Zecher Nishmas Alter Shlomo Ben Pinchas. We remain very grateful. This morning is also sponsored by the Srulowitz family in the Yurtzeit of Yisrael Ben Baruch. So the Neshama should have an Aliyah. And lastly, our global campaign continues. We're about 55% there. If you've not yet contributed, we greatly appreciate non-BRS members who benefit and enjoy the content we provide to help contribute and enable us to continue to spread it. We are on the 22nd chapter of Mesillas Yesharim. The Ramchal has been talking to us about the midah of anava, the character trait of humility and of modesty. We began by talking about it b'machshava. How do we think of ourselves? What is our posture? What is our self-perception? What is the way we relate to ourselves? Do we think that we're all that? Are we competing with the Almighty who is in control, who's managing this world? Or do we submit and we surrender? Do we recognize that we take initiative and we do our part, but ultimately it's His world? And then the Ramchal moved over from the world of Machshava to the world of Maisa, to the world of action. It's not enough to be humble inside, to be humble internally, but a person has to be humble in their practice, in their conduct, in their behavior. And the first way that's measured, he said, is b'diburo, in the way we speak, to speak benachas, divrei chachamim, benachas nishma'im, that the words of chachamim, Shlomo Melech teaches in Kohelas, are heard when they are relayed, when they are transmitted benachas. Nobody ever was yelled at or screamed at or threatened or spoken to condescendingly and said, you know, they've got a point. I really should make some radical changes in my life. People are open to growth. They're open to influence. They're open to a message resonating when it's communicated to them benachas, gently and sweetly. What's interesting, the Mashkiach, Rav Dan Segel, points out, it doesn't say divrei chachamim benachas ne'emarim. It doesn't say that the righteous or scholars know how to communicate benachas. It says benachas nishma'im. You have to know not only what you're saying, you have to know how it will be received, how it will be heard. Shlomo Melech said this many years ago, but a person has to have a sensitivity that if what you're going to say, even if you think you're saying it sweetly and gently and kindly, but it's going to trigger in the other person, it's going to hurt the other person because of their own background and history and filter through which they're hearing you is going to take offense or it's going to cause injury or pain. Divrei chachamim benachas, not only should it be said with sensitivity, but it requires tremendous forethought to anticipate the person you're saying it to. Who are they and how will they hear it? And how can it be said in such a way which will not only say benachas ne'emarim, benachas nishma'im. Person has to be very careful how we speak. Number two, bahali chaso. So the first behavior of humility or modesty is in our speech. Don't ever raise your voice. The Ramban, in the letter to his son, emphasizes this. The worst midah is kas. The worst midah, the worst character trait that doesn't belong in any measure is anger. Never indulge anger. Never lose your cool. Never be in a fit of rage. Never get angry. Never raise your voice. What's the best way to avoid anger? He says, person is naheg tamid l'daber l'chol adam benachas. Transform yourself, hitpa'el, hisnaheg tamid. Transform yourself to be the type of person who always speaks benachas. If you never raise your voice, if you speak gently and kindly and sweetly, you could be upset, you could be hurt, you could be passionate, enthusiastic, but if one trains and conditions themselves to always speak benachas, then you'll find you'll never lose your cool, you'll never fly off the handle, you'll never get angry, and you'll actually have a much greater influence on the people around us that we want to influence. Bahalichasa, the second, is the way we carry ourselves in our very physical posture. Amr Zechor Levracha, Gemara in Sanhedrin Peiches. Sholchu mitamezu ben olam haba. Who is a person who will go to the world to come? An vasan ushval berech shayef ayel shayef nafek. So they answered, one who is humble, one whose knee is lowly, who is bent over when he enters and bent when he leaves. In other words, our very posture speaks so much about what we think of ourselves or how we want others to relate to us. A person can walk around and they need to suck all the air out of the room. You walk into a room with the chin held high and standing up firm and needing to draw all the attention and all the spotlight and limelight. A person could walk in with their chest out and bravado and think they're all that. And a person could walk humbly. A person could walk humbly, looking down. A person could be slightly bent over. Not good for your posture, but at least humbly presenting oneself. So Chazal said, you want to be a ben olam haba, don't walk into a room, you think you're all that. You stand up so straight, your chest is out, you're boasting, your chin is high. Everybody look at me, everybody listen to me. This whole room has to revolve around me. Person should be able to just fit in, just blend in. Our very posture. I don't know if others here like the hobby of people watching. You're in a public place and you're sitting on a bench and you just people watch. Just watch the way people walk. Watch the posture they bring, the attitude, the energy that they're putting off in a room. So what's the energy that we put off in a room? When we walk into a room or walk out of a room, when we're sitting around a table with others, a dinner table or a boardroom table, a business meeting table. What is the posture? What is the attitude that we are projecting about ourselves? Lo yelech bekom zakufa. Don't walk erect or walk too formally. Lo b'kfeides gadol. Ake b'tzad gudol al keder kol holech la'asakav. Just be normal. Just fit in. Just blend in. Just be modest. Just be humble. V'chein amr zechron l'vracha. Gemara brachos. Kol holech bekom zakufa ki'ilu dochek raglei ashchina. If a person walks arrogantly, if a person walks erect, it's as if you're pressing upon the feet of the divine presence. So first was how we speak. Do you yell? Do you scream? Do you demand? Do people live in fear? Do they walk around sittering that you're going to lose it on them? Do you know how to communicate gently, sweetly, softly, anticipating how it will be received and how it will be heard? Number two, the posture when we walk. So if you were to watch security footage of yourself, would you recognize yourself? Maybe unintentionally, you don't realize. Usually the people, by the way, who their chest is out the most and they stand the tallest and they demand the most attention, they have the lowest self-esteem, the lowest self-worth. There's something missing, something absent inside themselves that needs to be filled with the attention or the praise or the honor of others. But a person who has a self-worth, a person who has a healthy self-esteem, a person who's only concerned with how Hashem perceives them and their family, is able to not need to draw all the attention and spotlight, can walk humbly into a room. The third, speech, and the posture we carry ourselves, how we walk. And number three is b'shivto. How do you sit? Associate with those who conduct themselves in a modest and a humble manner. They don't sit with the people who are ostentatious and boastful and arrogant and egotistical and competing for attention. Who do you run with? Who's your crew, as the young people would say? Who's your crew? Who's your crowd? Who do you hang out with? Who are you competing with? Where do you want to sit? Where do you want to sit? You know, you have people, when there's a shul dinner, a school dinner, a simcha, a wedding, you have the people who, when you're seating them, you say, oh, they need to sit with, they need to sit near, close to the band, far from the band, near the entrance, far from the entrance. You're going to hear about it. They're going to be offended. Can you believe where they put me? They're not going to stay. They're going to walk right out because the table they were at and where the table was placed and how it happened. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. Wherever you're seated, whoever you're with, you should get a thrill out of being with the modest and the humble. Whoever you put me with, it's the best. I'll tell you a little secret. If you're making a simcha, don't put me at the rabbi table. I'll know whether you're my friend or you're not my friend by where you put me. I love rabbis, don't get me wrong. Some of my best friends are rabbis. I love rabbis, but don't put me at the rabbi table. Spend a lot of time with rabbis. Put me with the Amcha. I like the people. Put me with my people. I just want to sit. So you learn a lot. The dais, where on the dais, where do you seat on the dais? You speak to the people who run the Siyam HaShas. They need 7.5 years to figure out how to manage all the people, the dais, off the dais, where on the dais, what seat on the dais. So the Ramchal tells us, don't be that person. Just wherever you want to. Mori Rabbi Rav Shechter, I promise, could care less if he's on the dais, probably prefers not to be on the dais, doesn't even notice where he was on the dais. Be a person who just blends in, fits in. What do you need? You're competing, you're going to post it to your status. The world needs to see where you sat, where you were invited, what Hanukkah party you attended. Just fit in, just sit. Shemekomo ben hashvalim. Hugam ken mikra molei. We'll end with this. Altis hadar lefnei melach. Thank you for the alarm. Uvamkom gedolim alta amod. Kitov amalach aleina mashvilcha lefnei nediv asher reu einecha. Pasuk in Mishlei. Don't glorify yourself before a king. In the place of prominent people, don't stand. Better to be told, move upward, than to be humiliated before the noblemen, as your own eyes have seen. It's better to start off low and someone says, no, come sit forward. Come sit more in the forward. Then you try to sit where it says reserved and they say, this isn't for you. What are you doing here? Okay, move to the back. Move to the back. Just blend in. Just sit. Be humble. I'm not talking about the extra leg room. That you're allowed to. But I'm saying in general, just be modest. Just blend in. Just be humble. So humility, you think you're so humble in your heart, but the Ramchal has now moved over to the world of Maisa, of action. The test, the demonstration of humility is not what you think in your heart, but it's the reality of how you're perceived by others. If you ask someone, what's that person's brand? How do they speak? Sweet, soft, gentle? Or yell, scream, loudest? Do they monopolize the conversation? Bahalichasa, how do they walk? When they walk in a room, do you even notice or you didn't notice? They say something, I didn't even realize you were here. When they walk in a room, everybody has to know they walked into the room. And B'shifto, the person that you'd sit there over, where you're going to seat them? Or no, they're simple, they're easy, they're happy, they're modest. Be the easy, modest person. We'll pick up with next week, 8:45, Living with Emunah, of Freilichen Shushan Purim.